Hi everyone, welcome back to Serene and Nicole, where elegance meets intention. Today we're going to discuss 11 luxury decor tips that I believe every elegant homemaker should have in their arsenal. These tips will allow you to transform your home into a luxurious sanctuary, regardless of its size or your budget. Let's dive in. By the end of this video, I want you to feel empowered to make changes to your home so that it is a better reflection of your lifestyle and your core values. I also want you to feel a deeper connection to your space. I'll also be sharing a special tip that will solve one of the biggest challenges we all face, so you definitely want to stick around for that. In today's video, you'll discover 3 key things. How to make even the smallest of spaces feel high-end without compromising on functionality. 2. Creative ways to repurpose and elevate the items you already have for a more luxurious look. 3. How to connect your decor with your core values so that it becomes a true reflection of your unique style and story. Now, before we go further, I think it's important that we define luxury. Luxury is a word that can either instill a feeling of relaxation or it's a word that can get your back up. I would love to know which side of the luxury debate you fall on. Do you feel tense when you hear the word luxury, or do you feel relaxed and empowered? As you can probably tell, I lean towards the more relaxed and empowered end of the spectrum, but I do understand why some people might feel very tense and not appreciate some of the nuances that the word may carry. And I think that boils down to what the actual definition of the word luxury is. You see, when planning this video, I decided to look up the meaning of the word, and I found that depending on where you are from or your background, the word can have 2 very different meanings. In particular, I'm referring to the UK and the US definitions of the word, and I found this very interesting and very striking. So let's first go into the definition from the Cambridge Dictionary. This is out of the UK, and their definition starts with great comfort, especially as provided by expensive and beautiful things. The second definition is something expensive that is pleasant to have but is not necessary. And it's only in the third definition that we get something that gives you a lot of pleasure but cannot be done often. So the emphasis on the word luxury in the UK sense, in the UK environment, is definitely expense and a little bit of maybe frivolity or wastefulness with the addition of not necessary. This is in stark contrast to the US definition, which starts with a condition of abundance or great ease and comfort. Notice how there's no price tag attached to that. It's a condition, it's a feeling. The second definition is something adding to pleasure or comfort, but not absolutely necessary. So again, we might have a little bit of frivolity added there, but again, not much definition on the price tag. It's just one of life's luxuries. And 3, an indulgence in something that provides pleasure, satisfaction, or ease. So the US definition is very much more focused on the feelings of relaxation, abundance, ease, comfort, pleasure, more immaterial than the UK definition, which is very materially based. And there, I think, is the juxtaposition that most of us fall into when we discuss luxury. One person might be discussing it from one vantage point and the other from the other vantage point, and it seems that there's no meeting in the middle. But I think that we can meet them in the middle once we understand that there's a spectrum that luxury falls on. So yes, we can have luxury in the sense of we spend more, and we can also have luxury in the sense of we feel more. We feel more in tune with who we are, we feel more aligned, we feel more at ease, we feel more abundant, we feel more prosperous. And again, that prosperity doesn't just have to be financially based. When we are with loved ones, we're not counting the monetary value of it, but we feel full, we feel great. And so that's the side of luxury that I want to focus on in this video. So when I talk about adding luxury and touches of luxury to your home, I'm talking about adding those elements that make you feel most who you are, that make you feel relaxed, that make you feel that your home is your sanctuary. A little bit of a personal story here. I have been living in this condo for about 4 years now. We moved just before, the big pandy. And I thought that everything would be done and ready within at least 1 year. Instead, it's been 4 years because I have a pretty big vision for this place. And well, circumstances didn't quite pan out for it to happen within apparently 4 years. So why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because you don't need to feel stifled by your vision. If you have a big vision for your place, hold on to it. It doesn't matter whether it can be achieved in small pieces or whether it can be achieved overnight. The bigger the vision, I think it's better. You can make little steps towards it, and that's what I've done with my place. So I want you to shift your mindset from one of perfection to one of progress. Look around and think of little things you might want to change. Put them down in a notebook or a digital journal like Notion, and see how you can make those changes gradually, whether it's once a week, once a month, once a quarter. What's important is that you start to see that progress. Even in this home, there are a lot of things that I still need to get done. I still need to get kitchen cabinetry, believe it or not, put in. That's a long story. We might get into it another day, but we're not going to do that right now. There's some supplementary lighting I want to put around this living room. As you might notice, this wall here is bare. I have some paintings that I want to put up here. My mother's kind of holding me back on that though, but we'll see. So luxury isn't just about price tags. I really want to dissuade you from that. It's about making those gradual steps to creating a place that's really harmonious with who you are and the vision you have for your surroundings. I want you to take a moment right now to just stop and look around your space. How does it make you feel right now? The room that you're in. Be honest. How would you like it to make you feel? So now that we've defined the word luxury and I've told you to have a vision for the room that you're currently in, and if you're so inclined, even your whole home, I want you to now define, what does luxury mean to you? Where do you fall on that spectrum between expense and feeling? When you think of luxury, do you think of wide open clear spaces, a neutral palette, or is it something more festive, more lively? Is it pastels? Is it bold primary colors? Are you thinking of floral prints or solid colors? Are you thinking of a place that is full of mementos of loved ones and shared experiences? None of these answers are right or wrong. They're all options. And it's important that you decide and refine the option that you think most would make you feel luxurious in the space that you're in. So once you've done that, and I recommend using sites like Instagram and Pinterest and creating mood boards, things that you probably are familiar with right now, to see what you're drawn to, what you're attracted to. Now again, if this seems intimidating, start small. You can just start with the room that you are in, like I've said, so just one room. If this room that you're in right now feels daunting, then pick the smallest room in your home. What's important is that you get those creative ideas flowing and you start to build up your design confidence. Yeah. So now that we've done that, I want you to now think of setting your color palette in place. Now, some decorators will suggest that you have a cohesive color palette that runs through the whole home. Others will say that each room is its own environment. Again, these are options I'm presenting for you. I don't really personally believe that one is right more than the other. I myself prefer to use each living area, each room as its own environmental space. If in a room like this is an open concept living room, it leads to a balcony and it leads to a kitchen, then I do try to have cohesive threads that will tie those areas together. But the three areas do have slightly different color schemes. Now the other rooms in this condo, which are unique and distinct unto themselves, I have separate color stories for each of those. So it's all up to you whether you want to have one color scheme that runs through your home, or if you want to play around by having different zones, different color zones, different style zones. But what's important is that you have the color palette intentionally thought through and designed. And I recommend a color palette of 3 to 4 colors. One main color, 2 accent colors, and then if you need to, a third color for like little punches throughout. When setting a color palette, if budget or the size of the room is an issue, I highly suggest going with a neutral color palette. These are more diverse and require less upfront and down the road investment. You see, if you want some bold colors on your walls and you tire of them within 6 months or a year, it's going to cost a lot more to repaint that room. You're going to need primer, you're going to probably need a few coats of primer depending on how bold the color is, and then you're going to have to redo the whole room, change the furniture and all that. Now, if you have a neutral palette, you can still draw in those bold, punchy colors that you might be attracted to, but it's going to be way less expensive. You can bring them in through slip covers, through pillows, through vases, through other decor items. And if your mood changes, it's much cheaper to swap them out. So that's one suggestion that I would like to make. Secondly, you want to avoid a very common rookie mistake that I see. That is that when people set a color palette, they lock it into stone. Meaning that if they have burnt orange or teal green as an accent color, the exact same shade of teal or orange pops up everywhere. And that starts to look cartoonish and, dare I say, downgrades the look that you might be going for. Instead, go with shades. You see, the color palette is really just to create a cohesive color story. It isn't to be an exact paint by numbers formula. So once you know the colors that you want, you can bring in shades, and I'll put in some examples here so that you can see the difference. Thirdly, you want to declutter and you want to keep your space decluttered. Even if you have a more maximalist style, and we're going to discuss maximalism in a little bit, you still want to keep your place highly decluttered. This is key towards having a sense of elegance and luxury in your space. We'll get into that with my next tip. And my next tip is to curate. You want to curate. You see, luxury isn't just about excess for excess sake. Yes, you might see some luxury spaces and they look excessive, but trust me, they've been highly curated even with that excess. And if you're drawn towards maximalism, trust me, maximalism is also highly curated. I'll show you the difference on the screen. Now, when you think of high-end luxury spaces, whether these be boutiques, spas, art galleries, museums, you'll notice that they're very spare and they use a lot of negative space. This is because they want meaning to fall on the spaces that are there, and with the space around those pieces, your eye registers them as significant and important. Contrast this with, say, a jumble sale or a second-hand store, where things are pushed together and cluttered, and not coincidentally, often at a very cheap price. So our mind has come to associate packed spaces with cheap value, lesser value. Now, where do you fall on the spectrum? Neither end is wrong, but it's very important that even if you like more things, that you curate them so that you don't end up looking like you're living in a jumble sale. That's garage sale as well for you. If you're wondering what the heck is a jumble sale? Sorry, UK parlance there, garage sale as well. The fifth tip that the elegant housemaker always keeps in mind is concealing outlets. Technology, electricity, they're basically standards at this point. So, we're all looking for outlets, the plug-in items, the charge items. You can't escape it. But do you have to look at it 24/7? If you've become eye blind to these items in your space, others might not be. And you might be downgrading the experience, not just for yourself, but for your visitors. Now, I know there are people who are out there saying, I don't really give a beep about the experience that my visitors have. And, fair enough if that is you. But I do still recommend that even just for me, seeing lots of cords in my own space, seeing a lot of wires, it adds to a sense of anxiety and a sense of tension that I like to dampen and quiet as much as possible. And that's why I highly suggest concealing wires and outlets. And how do you do that? I use paintings and I use mirrors. Those are my favorite ways. You can also use baskets. You can get very creative with these things. You can use cable management boxes. You can use those cord covers. You can use flat outlets that allow you to plug in and push the furniture right up to the wall. I do have some of those and I'll link them in my Amazon storefront down below. But either way, I hope you'll see, I'll put some before and afters here for my own home so that you will see the difference that covering outlets does make in a space. 6, you want to treat lighting as jewelry. Ooh. Have you heard that one before? Lighting is really to create ambiance. It's not just to illuminate a space for practical purposes. Yes, you don't want to be stumbling around, but you also want to create mood. That's why it's often called mood lighting. And so you want to think of it as jewelry, a little bit of sparkle left and right. You want it to be balanced. You want it to be strategic. You want it to highlight things in your home that you want to maybe guide the eye to have a little more attention on. Think about that. And also think about the color temperature of the lights that you're using. I highly suggest using 2700 Kelvin as your lighting temperature. It's a nice, warm, almost mimics candlelight. You don't want harsh, bright. Avoid daylight bulbs unless, you're going for that warehouse, hospital, office, medical office vibe. And if that's you, more power. But if you want something a little more cozy, a little more luxurious, you want to bring it down, bring the temperature down into the warmer hues, and I recommend 2700 to start. Next, you want to layer your lights using lamps, using candles, and you also want to make them dimmable, which is so simple now with smart bulbs. You can put them on timers, you can adjust them from your phone. I have everything on timers here, and it just makes things so easy, as well as motion sensors, especially for my mom, so that she doesn't have to navigate in darkness and trip herself up or leave lights on because she forgets to turn them off. So I have a lot of lights in the areas like bathrooms and such on motion sensors, and so that the light automatically comes on and then will turn off after it detects a certain period of non-movement in the room. So all of these things are wonderful, not just for creating mood, but also for increasing accessibility if, like me, you're a caregiver and you have more elderly ones. 7, you want to incorporate metallic, glass, and crystal accents. Why? It's obvious. They bring light and airiness into a room. They bring sparkle, and we love sparkle. I'm all about sparkle. I don't know about you, but me, sparkle, yes. Now, where I especially love this tip is in a small bathroom. I have a very tiny bathroom, and using opaque or plastic can make a small bathroom look cluttered so fast. It was one of the first things I got rid of when we moved here. I got rid of as much signage, as much labeling, as much color. I got rid of plastic because it's a small space. It looks a lot calmer and spacious, and dare I say it, elegant, by turning all the towels to white and using as much as possible glass and crystal. Thus things don't look heavy. It doesn't emphasize the heaviness, the smallness of the space by bringing in blocks of color. So with the glass and the crystal elements, it looks a lot more spacious. You can see right through to the walls, and the room feels a lot bigger than it actually was. And it feels a lot bigger than it did before, trust me. I probably can't dig up the before and after pictures right now, but I will at some point in a later video if you're interested. Number 8, I want you to use mirrors. Mirrors are not just for checking yourself out. They also help to expand a room, especially if you're in a small space. I have a mirror right above my TV, and it really, trust me, if I take that mirror down, the room closes in, the walls just come forward. So by putting that little accent, and I think it's a little unexpected touch, and it breaks up the squares and the rectangles by having that oval shape. But by having mirrors strategically on your walls, you can make a small space feel so much larger. You bring in a lot more light because this is a north-facing room, so it doesn't really get direct light. So by bringing in the mirror, I'm reflecting the little light that does come through from the balcony, and I'm also amplifying the light, the overhead chandelier. So those are little tips that you can use. I also use mirrors in my kitchen to hide my outlets, and they also bring in a lot of light. I do get a lot of light in the kitchen because it's south facing, so it really amplifies and brightens the kitchen with that illumination, that reflectiveness, and it hides the outlet, so it's like a win-win. Next, we want to talk artwork, and this is where a lot of homemakers, I think, get a little anxious. You really want to invest in your art pieces. It can be very simple to just get a print, a low quality print, a mass produced print, and those are cute. Don't get me wrong, those are cute, but do they really reflect who you are? Do they really move you, or are you picking it because you've seen it on a lot of influencer feeds, you've seen it, promoted on Instagram or YouTube or Pinterest? Does it really speak to you? Does it really tell a unique story? Trust me, you might even be better getting a canvas and some paint and pouring it on and making something abstract for yourself. At least that would be unique. But the same bohemian desert arch that 600 other people have, I don't know what it's really saying. So even if you do find a print, try and find something that's a little less obvious. Try and support small artists. Try and find unique pieces that you can really share with a person, with those who visit you or that give you joy. And I also suggest staying away from highly famous, recognizable pieces. Everyone knows that you don't own the Mona Lisa. Everybody knows you don't own a copy of the Scream. And if you do really like these pieces, I suggest that you buy them on a smaller scale so that you can display them in a smaller frame, maybe on a bookshelf or a console table, as a bit of a, a little bit of a conversation starter. It's like, oh, look, a tiny Mona Lisa, rather than having a huge Mona Lisa on your wall. Although, if that's your thing as well, don't let me dissuade you from that if it really gives you joy. But if it is just because you're thinking, oh, I need to put up some art, I know, I'll put the Mona Lisa, that's not really telling your story, so think it through again. Another problem I see when people are choosing art is they choose art that's not to the scale of the space or the room. I really suggest it's better to have 3 large statement pieces than to have 8 or 10 small pieces that are dwarfed by the wall that they're put on. You're not doing yourself any favors by having a huge wall with a little dinky painting on it. That's not luxurious. And I doubt you feel very luxurious looking at it. You probably have to walk halfway up into the room with a magnifying glass to really appreciate the piece. Smaller pieces, again, are better on bookshelves, on console tables, maybe in a little gallery wall area that you might want to have. But as much as possible, use your wall space, get larger statement pieces. And again, don't be afraid to try making some of your own. You might be surprised. This next tip is one of my personal favorites, and it's one that I don't hear talked about much. So I don't know, maybe I'm ahead of the curve, maybe I'm behind. I really don't care. But it is incorporating sentimental, personal items as decor. Items that may not traditionally be seen as decor. This is something I love to do because I really feel it weaves my story and my family's story throughout my home in a way that is inimitable, and that's something I want you to be able to do in your own space. So I'm going to put some examples here of how I do that. I like to create little vignettes with pieces that come from my past or my father's past or my mother's past or from their family's past, and create little vignettes. And again, like I've said, it doesn't have to be traditional decor pieces. You'd be surprised. Like over here, I have a camera lens on a display table, and I use it as decor because it does tell my story. This is one of the first lenses that I got when I started to really explore DSLR photography, and it was a gift, and so I like to have it here sometimes. And I rotate the pieces out. Remember what I said about being intentional and not creating clutter. Don't put out everything at once. pick and choose, and then when you feel for a change, remove and replace with the other items. You really start to enjoy and appreciate the wealth of what you have, the abundance of what you have. And that's key to feeling luxurious. If it's all on display, after a while your eye goes blind to all of it. And when everything is special, nothing is special, if you understand what I mean. So really pick and choose and curate and replace and rotate. You'll just be amazed. You'll feel like you're shopping at home, and you'll feel as though, you know, you really appreciate the story of what you and your loved ones have experienced. By using sentimental and interest-based items, I feel that you really add a layer to your home that cannot be replicated by anyone else, which is uniquely true to who you are and which is highly personal and irreplaceable. And I think that that's definitely one of the, for me at least, definitions of having a luxurious home. I hope you agree. Let me know in the comments. 10. Personalize with scent. You will notice that when you go into many high-end hotels or spas, definitely spas, shopping centers, boutiques, there's always a nice little subtle scent going through. And the key here is subtle. You don't want to be blasted, especially if you're using a synthetic oil, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but I understand that there's a time and place for those. But I highly recommend, when you can, that you get very essential oils. Natural essential oils or items and products that use natural essential oil. I hope that by this point in the video, you've come to realize that more than anything, luxury is a mindset. It's not a price tag. It's not about how large your space is or how much money you've spent on it. It's about how it makes you feel when you enter it, how it makes you feel when you sit in it, how it makes you feel when you look around, and how it makes you feel when others come over as well. Do they have an enjoyable experience? Yes, again, I know some of you don't care. But some of us do. Some of us do want, our visitors to come over and be like, wow, this is really nice. One of the things I love about a luxury mindset is that it establishes what we deserve to us, not to the outside world, not others' definitions. Luxury to me is telling myself, I deserve this. I deserve calm. I deserve peace. I deserve serenity. I deserve the best that life can offer to the best that I can provide it to myself. So what is luxurious to me today might be a little more highbrow next month. It might be a little more lowbrow the month after that. But what matters is not what I spend. What matters is how I feel. You understand? So I hope that you can also start to think of luxury in those terms as well. It's about what you deserve and treating yourself to that. And when I say treat, again, it's not about monetary value. When you start to see yourself as someone who's deserving of luxury, it shifts everything. And I'm not just talking about decor. It shifts the quality of your relationships. It shifts what you think is deserving of your time. It shifts what you want to consume in terms of media. It shifts what you eat, what choices you make about what you put in your body. It all comes from the mindset of what do I deserve, and do I deserve better than this? And the best part of that is that shift in mindset doesn't cost a thing. If you want to dive deeper into living a more intentional life, join my mailing list and download my free guide to slow living. It's linked in the description box below. I'll be sharing weekly tips with you on how you can continue to move forward to creating a joyful life that aligns with your core values. I have so many more tips that I wanted to add to this list, but I had to stop for the sake of time. If you would like me to continue this list and to share more ideas for creating a luxurious home on a budget, let me know in the comments below, and let me know which tip you're most excited to try out. I really would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell, and then check out, it's gonna be around here somewhere, this next video. See you. Bye.